Hi, I'm Rachel Lancaster, and this is the Magnificent Midlife podcast. This is where we celebrate women in midlife and beyond. We challenge the status quo and bash those negative stereotypes about being an older woman. We're not over the hill at 40, 50, 60. We're just getting started, and the world needs us now more than ever. I'll be talking all things midlife and sharing some fabulous stories of amazing women doing very cool stuff. Now's our time. I am so excited to introduce you to the wonderful Suzi Grant today, who is a broadcaster, an author and a blogger and an Instagram star. She's incredible. She's amazing. And you're going to love her because she's absolutely amazing. Welcome, Suzi.
Thank you. And let's wave to everyone. Hiya! Because that's what I do on my YouTube. I wave like a lunatic. And on Instagram stories, I'm a bit of a waver and a nutter.
It's right, I'll wave back. Hello.
Yes. Hello. Lovely to see you, Rachel. Absolutely awesome. And I think this is amazing.
Thank you. I've been wanting to get Suzi on here for a long time, so I'm terribly excited that we've managed to schedule it. And I'm going to kick off straight away with asking her about her blog, Alternative Aging, which is brilliant, absolutely amazing. You need to go and check it out, all sorts of resources. But tell us, how did you come to set it up and why?
Yes, good question, and a long answer coming up. Shameless plug coming up, because it just happens to be with me. But 12 years ago, following my TV and radio career, I needed a gentler life, and I was very lucky to get a book deal with Penguin. And Alternative Aging was my third book. And that's when I moved to Brighton. I thought, well, I don't need to stay in London to write books. Let's move to the seaside and have a different life and dress up in what you like and be alternative. And I thought of the title, so it's mine. And the book is now 12 years old. So such is the success of the blog that Penguin have asked me to re-edit it, which means rewriting something on nearly every page. That's how much things have changed in 12 years. But it's hard work, but it will be republished probably beginning of next year. And the blog was born out of that because I literally retired at 60. I had been a broadcaster on screen, on the radio, all most of my working life. I then trained as a nutritionist. I then wrote 3 books and practiced as a nutritionist and saw hundreds of clients, both in London and in Brighton. And then was lucky enough to inherit some money, which enabled me to stop work if I wanted to, which I did at 60. I thought, hey, let's retire. And I sort of did up a house for the one I'm living in for the first 2 years. And a dear friend of mine in Paris said, you're going to get bored. Within 2 years, you'll be looking for something else to do. And he was absolutely right. I tried film script writing. I did a course. I tried novel writing. I tried all sorts of things that would encompass my talents that I've had all my life, photography, writing, that's it, and interviewing people. And nothing really thrilled me, Rachel. Nothing made me get out of bed in the morning and go, yay. And both my godchildren, I don't have children, but I do have godchildren, both of them independently, they've never even met each other, said to me, this is so weird, one's 38 now and the other one's 23, and this was literally 4 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago, 3.5. Said to me, why don't you do a blog? Start this blogging lark. Everybody's doing blogs. And I looked at Zoella and thought, ooh, she's in Brighton. I could be the Zoella of pensioners. And, the idea was born. I went to see Advanced Style, the documentary. I'm thrilled to say now, fast forward 4 years, that Ari Seth Cohen is now a friend of mine. I know him well. I know a lot of the biggies in Advanced Style because I've, made it my mission to go meet them if I'm in New York. And you've met one, Sephora Solomon. So I met her at a conference. So I was completely inspired by the Advanced Style movie and thought, oh, I can do this. I would love to do this. There's nothing that comes more naturally to me than dressing up interviewing people in the street, stopping people in the street, photographing people in the street. And now, 3 years on, I'm thrilled to say the blog's a huge success, sharing my thoughts and experience on nutrition, health, lifestyle, travel is the most popular, and my vintage fashion, because I love buying vintage and recycling as much as possible. So all of that has grown into a very happy blog with fantastic followers and people who are just so good at engagement and commenting. And they're like, you know this, it's like our own little tribe. I have my own little tribe. They smile at me. If I meet a lady with vintage glasses on of a certain age, even in London, and I'm getting off the tube and she's getting on, we smile at each other.
Oh, how lovely.
That we're not invisible. We are well over 50 and we're strutting our stuff. And that happens everywhere now. People stop me. I went to the theatre and was stopped by a youngster. Please, can I take your photograph? And I'm like, why? Well, because of what you're wearing. Because I'm old and old people aren't supposed to.
No, you're older.
I'm older, but I'm not
older.
supposed to look like this in my late 60s. You know, I'm not supposed to be colourful.
Who says? Who says?
Well, exactly. We're here to change all of that.
Absolutely.
So that's the story.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. And tell us about how you got in the New York Times style section as well, because that was amazing.
Well, I don't know how that happened. You know, I can't remember. I think both of them came through Instagram.
It was, I'm sure,
it was.
Because you'd hashtagged something, hadn't you? And you'd put a picture of you. I don't know, was it vintage? It
was vintage style or ageless style.
Yeah, something like that.
Some hashtag connects. I can't tell you now without looking it all up. But it was something along the lines of stylish 60 or over 60 style. I think it was ageless style.
Yeah, I think it was something.
Yes, and somebody at the New York Times was having a little look, and up I popped, and I was so thrilled to be in the New York Times, and it's still
that was incredible
on my website. And then, of course, there was Instagram. Yeah. Which really, really thrilled me. One of the
because you did the Instagram account.
The Instagram interviewed me. I mean, it was just like that. They wanted unusual people, and they would do it perfectly me. The whole hashtag was called Perfectly Me. I didn't apply to them. They found me, and they were finding people. You know, disability, blind parachutist,
oh my goodness,
as many people as they could to prove that Instagram isn't just about 22-year-old nubile models, it's about everybody. So, and he found me not through my fashion posts, but actually through a recipe post. So that's what he remembers. He found me on some recipe and then had a look at my feeds, and I take great pride in my feed, as you know. That's the thing that I've worked on the most, photography-wise and image-wise. And he interviewed me, and the interview appeared on Instagram. And the weirdest thing is that I'd forgotten all about it, and I was watching a Q&A with a group that I've joined that does photography, e-courses, and it's very much Make Light. It's very much my little group, lifetime membership. And I was listening to a Q&A, and suddenly my phone was going ping, 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 ping. And all my friends were alerting me to say, you're on Instagram. And I had to tell them live on Make Light. They were so thrilled. It was like 700,000 likes. And my 700,000 likes. I mean, I think the screen grab was 600 and something. Anyway, it was an awful lot of likes. And it was just phenomenal. It was so exciting, and it changed my followers. I mean, it increased them from literally 3,000 followers to 9,000 overnight, and it's taken 18 months to build another 2,000. So for anyone watching this Instagram, please don't be despondent. It is slow. And the most important thing, if you're working with brands or want to work through Instagram, is to remain authentic. And the one thing, I've got an authentic badge from a New York company that puts bloggers and brands together. And it's really, and the more I listen to podcasts and the more I watch videos, the more I hear, don't buy followers, don't fudge it, just make sure you're utterly authentic, and all that brands are looking for is engagement. So, yes, it's taken 18 months to build 2,000, and I tripled overnight thanks to Instagram. So
it's like when I did my my Woman's Hour interview.
Yes, exactly.
The spike in people coming to the website and signing up on that day was just incredible. It was just amazing, more than I'd ever had before, just from having done, one.
It's amazing. That's what we need to do. Lots of marketing, lots of being out there, and getting the word out is so important. So that was a very, very lovely peak for me. That was just, I can't believe it's 18 months ago. November before last. Wow. No, it's not 18 months, but it was November 2016.
But I love as well, because you're kind of a poster child for somebody who's a little bit older but is embracing technology as well, because I think as we get older, I love technology. I love technology.
Me too.
And I love social media and all of that. But a lot of people are not so keen, and they're quite nervous about it. And yet you've embraced it and had enormous success. Not necessarily that it's brought in, lots of money, but it has built your presence, hasn't it?
Yes.
You have changed lives by doing them.
Including my own life. Yeah. It's changed my life. I swear to God, Rachel, before I started blogging, and I had to learn an awful lot, but before I started blogging, I was forgetting words, as most people in their early mid-60s are. I'd be in the middle of a conversation and say, oh, what was that film I went to see?
I do that all the time.
Exactly. but I really, I have a very careful diet, but I really do believe, and I've written about it in my book, that if you want your brain to stay young and active, you have to exercise it like any other muscle in your body. And whether it's a new language or learning to knit or breeding dogs, who cares what it is, as long as you're learning something. And for blogging 3 years ago, I had to learn an awful lot. I had to learn
both.
Exactly. I had to learn. To be fair, I had grown up with technology. When I worked in TVAM in television, that was in the early 80s. There were no mobile phones, and there was no such thing as emails. I don't think there was much on the internet. But because we were in television, we had our own internal email system. So I have been used to computers all my life. And I was taught to touch type by the BBC in my youth. So typing fast and getting across something technical was fairly easy for me, as long as I'm shown. I can't be told or written that I can't follow.
You have
written.
To do it, don't you?
I have to do it. Yes, you're the same. Visual people. So I have to sit. I've got a wonderful girl who helps me and helps do the pretty stuff. We call it the pretty stuff. And she will sit with me. And so she taught me how to use Squarespace, how to get in the back end, how to do a newsletter, how to do, everything had to be taught, but it didn't take long. And like everything, it's practice, practice, practice. And I also had to learn, even though I was a good photographer and I've got the eye, as I call it, I know how to frame and make it look gorgeous. And I used to sell photos, when they were in slide form. And I worked in TV. So all of that comes naturally to me. I was absolutely crap at taking pictures of food. I was so crap. I would literally put if I was talking about coconut oil, I'd put a coconut jar on the table and take a picture of it. Like everybody does in their early days.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, I did a course with Make Light on beautify your Instagram, and it was like a whole new world. That's the happiest I've ever been learning something to do with blogging. Oh my goodness, that was 2 years ago this summer. I loved it, Rachel. You would have homework every week and I'd be out in the garden using the decking and putting straw under eggs and a little wire chicken rather than just an egg. And coconut shot was so much better once I stuck a spoon in the jar and got a real coconut and opened that. Obvious things, but I just think it's really changed my life.
But you've really embraced your creativity as well, haven't you? And you've expanded your creativity, which I think is so exciting.
It's so exciting because it's all the things I've done all my life, and they've all come together. I've always loved bright colours. A friend, my godson's mum reminded me that even though on TV we had to be fairly straight and I always had to wear a jacket, albeit they had to be bright jackets for breakfast television, it was still fairly straight, but I bought a bright pink fake fur floor-length coat in Camden Town in 1982. So I was obviously always a bit of an exhibitionist. I also, you're going to love this one, I used to wander into pubs in the wild 70s when I was in advertising with a carrier bag with a wig in it and all sorts of props. And if anyone put Rod Stewart, Do You Think I'm Sexy on the jukebox, I can't believe I did this. I must have been very drunk. I used to put a wig on and clothes on and do this whole dancing thing in the pub. So I've obviously always been an exhibitionist, but it was sort of toned down due to a serious career. Oh, and a serious partner. He wasn't much fun. He didn't like me being too exhibitionist. And then I found myself again by moving to Brighton, where it's, you're allowed to be a bit mad. You see men rollerblading in their 70s along the beach. That's not unusual. They're kite surfing. They're surfing. Same in Byron Bay in Australia, where I spend as much time as possible. The men, I'm going to go on about the men because you take it for granted women do their best in their 60s and 70s and 50s. They all look great and they're slim. The men in Byron Bay in their 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s are unbelievable. There's not one pot belly amongst them. Not one.
So that's because
they live out, unfortunately there are not many single ones. But they're all fit. They're brown as berries. They surf, they skate, they're just energetic. So our climate isn't very helpful for being fit and brown and lovely, but you are allowed to be very, very free in Brighton with your clothes and your hair dyed. Look at me, got purple tint in it now. I'm now totally grey, but I still keep adding a bit of colour when I'm in the mood.
Wonderful, it's lovely. But I mean, it's all about mindset, isn't it? I think that you are also the embodiment of that it's about how you choose to live and how what you choose to do and what you approach. I mean, you've talked a little bit about your diet. I know, and you've written for the Mutton Club about the kind of food that we should all be eating as we get older. So I think it's really about, I see you as putting in place, you've planned it, you've been proactive about how you want to age, how you want to alternatively age, haven't you?
Absolutely, and even more so now because there's so much. It's why I'm so excited to rewrite some of the book. There is so much new evidence now. It's not at the end of you can't say this is scientific evidence, because the leading professor in longevity, Dr. Walter Longo, I don't know if you know him, but he's the one who introduced the 5-2 to Dr. Michael Mosley and therefore to this country.
The 5-2 diet?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Dr. Walter Longo, he's the leading researcher in the States. Now he's gone one step further and said that we need to do intermittent fasting, depending on our health and our age, for 5 days, a couple of times a year, or every month for some people. And his research is now 30 years old. And he and many others that I listen to on podcasts or read, doctors, are pretty sure that there's no reason why we shouldn't live to over 100 in good health. So it's changing. Now, the full evidence isn't there because it hasn't been going, we need 150 years worth of evidence. But there is no question that there are a huge amount of experts out there, and I'm jumping on the coattails to help spread the message, that really are showing that it helps against disease. We used to do it, in our natural state. We would have days when we couldn't eat because we were hunting and couldn't find anything. The first thing I was taught when I trained in nutrition in when was it? 1999. The first lesson was you need to fast once a week. It's been, it's a religious thing. We've known about this for ages. I mean, we knew about fasting rats are slimmer and live longer 60 years ago. So I'm finding the fact that I'm now a blogger and a broadcaster and author even more exciting because all this new research is coming out, which I can share with people. Plus, if I buy a new outfit that costs next to nothing, I get to share that too.
But it's funny, when I was growing up, and even now, my mum, bless her, she'll be concerned if I miss a meal. Whereas actually, there's nothing wrong with missing a meal.
You know why, though, don't you? Because my mum was the same.
Is it rationing?
It was the war. Yes, They didn't have enough to eat. And actually, our nation were never healthier. We were so healthy then because we didn't have enough to eat. Proof in point. I'm not going to say it because it sounds politically incorrect, but people who, through no fault of their own, have been forced into starvation, how come they live to 100 often, having had the most awful childhood or youth? It's there's something in it. There's a lot in it, and I'm helping to spread the word. But there's so much. I was just listening to a podcast today. There's a TV doctor. I can't remember his name. Now that's not an age thing. It's a really difficult name. It's an Indian name. But he's on TV all the time, and he's a proper practicing doctor who knows that he has to prescribe drugs if the situation arises. But he's saying constantly on TV and everywhere he can that lifestyle has something like 40% effect on diseases like cancer. He reversed a woman's diabetes on TV in just a couple of weeks. She's 2 years later, she still doesn't need any medication. So his argument is, the national health is in real trouble, and our not acute, our acute problems really do need drugs, but our chronic diseases can be helped hugely with a change in lifestyle and diet. And
that I share that view, that we have this over dependence on medication. Yes. And that's my approach to menopause as well. And
yes,
regular watchers will know all of that. But HRT works for a lot of women. I went on HRT because of my early menopause, but I'm off it now. I'm at sort of normal menopause age now, and I'm off it and I'm fine. But I take your advice in terms of, what I need to add to my diet, and what my lifestyle needs to look like. And I'm careful in that respect. And I think that helps. And I would like to, it's one of the things I said on Woman's Hour, I'd like to see more research into that and into the lifestyle factors that
exactly. Well, this doctor
women's issues particularly.
Yeah, no, he's doing it, and he's spreading the word. He wants us to be less reliant on prescription drugs and more reliant on changing our lives, because you can. You've proved it. I proved it. Thousands of women have proved it. You can sail through the menopause if you look out for certain things. You can beat diabetes. You can avoid some cancers. You can do an awful lot to help yourself and save the National Health Service masses of money. And he's now launched a way of training other GPs to actually don't just say as somebody's going out the door, oh, and by the way, you need to lose weight. Address all that first. These are the lifestyle changes you need to make, and maybe you won't need to be on insulin. Are you happy to try? And everyone always says yes. It's very interesting.
And it's that I get so frustrated that we don't take that holistic approach to our health.
It's the way that our doctors are trained. It's very, very sad. And that's what doctors like this one are trying to change, and all these researchers out there. It will change, but it probably won't change enough in my lifestyle. What's really weird is that everything that I learned in 1999 and it was holistic nutrition, very much natural nutrition, very much considered completely wacky and off the wall in those days, it's now common knowledge in the main media. You know, like fats are good for you, we shouldn't have a low-fat diet, and all these things I was banging on about all those years ago. And now
you've always been ahead of the curve, haven't you?
Thank you. I hope so.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Magnificent Midlife podcast. This was an extract from a longer video interview available in our members club. That's where you'll find the strategies, support and connection you need to live the very best next phase of life. You can find out more about the members club and get the show notes for this episode at magnificentmidlife.com. It would really help me get the message out and inspire more women to feel empowered in midlife and beyond if you left me a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you may be listening to this, and share this podcast with your friends too. Help me change the world, one midlife woman at a time.